The Phantom line has some insane complimenters in it and it's so underrated, but not all of these are great, and there's one I actually do not recommend. But there's no doubt that the juice inside some of these smells fantastic. Welcome to my Rabanne Phantom comparison and ranked. So I'm going to go through what they smell like, compare them in different ways and rank them from my least favorite to the one I think is the best. Before I begin, please drop a like on this video. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And if you're brand new here, please do consider subscribing. So let's start with the original Phantom EDT. So the first thing you're getting when you spray on Phantom EDT is a dose of zesty freshness together with a bit of the freshness from lavender. And like a minute or two into it, you are going to get a dose of vanilla, which basically pretty much runs through with the entire line. It's basically pretty much vanilla and or lavender that is part of the core Phantom DNA. And the more the whole thing goes into the drawdown, the more it turns into something that is more woody and earthy. I know the earthiness of Phantom EDT is something some guys absolutely dislike, but I actually feel the earthiness of here is almost comes across as something sort of a buttery earthy. And if you compare the earthiness of this with other fragrances that have a prominent dose of earthiness in them, I do feel this is more of a mass appealing kind of earthiness. You also get a bit of fruitiness in the dry down, and the whole thing is definitely a bit sweet. So Phantom EDT is basically a combination of aromatic freshness and citrusy freshness on top of vanilla. It's definitely a bit woody with an earthiness that, at least to my nose, is a bit more on the mass appealing side of things, and it does have a bit of fruitiness to it, and it's definitely a bit sweet. The earthiness of the EDT is definitely going to be something you really enjoy or dislike. I do like the OG. It's a fantastic mass appealing compliment, and I do feel it's underrated. So moving on to Phantom Parfum, and this, at least to my nose, takes that DNA with the lavender and the vanilla and amps up that DNA and makes the aromatic freshness of it, the lavender, even more intense and pushes that vanilla to an even more intense level. So you basically get the combination of aromatic freshness from lavender together with what I feel is a fantastic creamy dose of vanilla. That duo sits on top of a woody base, and you also get a spicy kick in the opening. To my nose, the Parfum is a richer, deeper and more complex version of that DNA. What makes the Parfum stand out, at least to my nose, is that intense, rich and super creamy dose of vanilla together with the aromatic freshness and brightness from lavender. I fell in love with this pretty much right away, and this is an epic compliment. And when I compare the OG EDT with the Parfum, I do feel they sort of refined and made that core DNA richer. So moving on to Phantom Intense, and I can't remember exactly what I said about it in my review of it, but I believe that I said that it smelled nice, but that I felt that it lacked something. However, Phantom Intense has grown on me a lot since then. Phantom Intense also opens up with a bit of aromatic freshness like the other two and a bit of citrusy freshness, so you get this really nice dose of freshness in the opening. But there's a twist to this flanker, and it's really that twist that makes this ranked so hard and that makes it so good. I can't remember exactly what Rabanne called it, but I believe it was something like frosted orange blossom, something like that, which basically, at least to my nose, brings its freshness, a lot of nuance, which something I actually feel is a bit unique. And what you're getting with the Intense is basically that nuanced dose of freshness with a bit of a citrus, with a bit of the aromatic freshness and brightness from lavender, and that somewhat sort of a unique kind of freshness from that frosted orange blossom thing. That freshness sits on top of a creamy dose of vanilla that's a bit sweet, and the whole thing is softly woody. I don't think the vanilla in the Intense is as creamy as the one you get in Parfum. But if I compare the freshness of the Intense with the freshness from both the Parfum and the EDT, I actually feel the freshness here is the best. And once again, the main star or the main thing that makes the Intense so good is really the combination of its freshness with that frosted orange blossom thing together with the vanilla. And it's really when that duo, somewhere from the opening and a bit into the drawdown, is at its peak that I enjoy it the most. And pretty much like the Parfum and the EDT, this is another mass appealing compliment getter. So moving on to Phantom Elixir, and I blind bought the biggest bottle, and unfortunately this is really the first in this line that I was a bit disappointed with. They kept a bit of that core DNA with a bit of the vanilla, but overall changed the whole thing. And Phantom Elixir basically combines a bit of that vanilla with a prominent dose of marine freshness, mineral notes and a bit of wood. So on paper, when I blind bought it and saw that it had wood in it, I was really excited. However, I do feel that the oud in Phantom Elixir lacks a bit of excitement, and I do feel the oud, the woody side of Phantom Elixir, is a bit flat. And even though there's nothing bad about its marine freshness, and I actually kind of like the twist with mineral notes, I do feel this is a fragrance that really doesn't know exactly what it wants to be. The oud lacks a bit of personality. I definitely feel its freshness is also in a way a bit sort of a generic, and I actually feel that the overall blend of Elixir feels a bit sort of unbalanced. So moving on to Phantom in Red, which I really liked right away, and I'm not sure you guys can see it, but I quickly put quite a dent to it. Phantom in Red has definitely grown on me a lot in a very short time. To my knowledge, Phantom in Red keeps the lavender from that sort of a core DNA, but takes the entire thing in quite a boozy, sweet, ambery and woody direction. And when the whole thing dries down, it definitely feels like you're getting something vanilla-ish in the whole thing. And it took me some time before I realized it, but Phantom in Red almost feels like Rabanne's take on Le Male Elixir mixed with a bit of the DNA from this line. It's actually been at least a couple of times where I sprayed this on and woke up the next day, and when I got whiffs of what was left on my skin, I actually thought this was a Le Male Elixir. Then I remembered that I sprayed on this. So I do think that if you're someone who absolutely loves Le Male Elixir and wants something that definitely has a bit of that but with a twist, then you'll most likely enjoy this. Fantastic flanker and already a top compliment getter. So let's do a quick comparison when it comes to compliments and mass appeal. Phantom in Red, Phantom Intense, Phantom Parfum, and even the OG EDT are all mass appealing top compliment getters. And I'm gonna say that I received the most compliments for Phantom Parfum, followed by Phantom Intense. But Phantom in Red has quickly, in a very short time, turned out to be a compliment getter. Comparing the performance, even though there's not a massive difference between some of these, I'm probably getting the best performance out of Parfum and Phantom in Red. Then probably on third place the EDT, followed by Intense, and Elixir comes last. That's on my skin, so someone else might get different performance from these. So comparing usage, even though I do feel you can use most of them throughout the year, most of them also are mostly for like spring, fall and winter. And on top of that, summer nights. I'm gonna wear Phantom in Red on summer nights for sure, and I've worn Phantom Parfum on summer nights as well, and that thing smells great with a bit of warmth. And out of all of these, the one I feel is the most versatile, that definitely can be used throughout the year to pretty much any occasion, is the Intense. And when it comes to occasions, I do feel Phantom in Red, Intense, the Parfum, and even the EDT are perfect for going out and date nights. You could definitely wear these four to work or school as well. But again, the most versatile is definitely the Intense. So how am I going to rank these, and which do I think is the best? You probably already figured it out, but my absolute least favorite is definitely Phantom Elixir. It definitely lacks personality, and I just don't find it to be an exciting scent to wear. And you could probably count on one hand how many times I worn the Elixir. And because of that, the Elixir is the one I do not recommend. So the Elixir was the easy one to rank, but the next one was super hard. But after going back and forth, sniffing my way through them all, comparing them in different ways, I'm actually gonna put the EDT on fourth place. I think the EDT is so underrated, definitely overhated, but I do enjoy it a lot, and I received a ton of compliments for it. The reason why this comparison took so long for me to do is because I actually had a really hard time choosing my absolute favorite. But with that said, after a lot of sniffing back and forth, I'm actually gonna put Phantom Intense on third place. However, the combination of that signature Rabanne DNA with the vanilla and what I feel is actually a somewhat unique kind of freshness is so good in this. So third place, Phantom Intense. I really like this. So the battle for first place and the best Phantom is between Phantom Parfum and Phantom in Red. And it's basically sort of simplified between that super creamy sweet dose of vanilla with the freshness and brightness from lavender against the almost hybrid version of Le Male Elixir with this line's DNA. It took me multiple days of testing these two side by side in order for me to decide. I actually feel Phantom in Red is an absolute banger. What a gorgeous scent Phantom in Red is, but when both of these finally dry down, even though I absolutely love the dry down of Phantom in Red, that super creamy, quite a rich dose of vanilla that is cutting through in the dryland of the Parfum is so good and so addictive. So my absolute favorite in the Rabanne line so far is Phantom Parfum, with Phantom in red coming in on second place right behind it. Now I really want to know your thoughts on this line. Which do you really like, which do you really dislike, and which Phantom do you think is the best and why? Let me know in the comments. Please drop a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my other videos over there.